Alright, as you can see from the topic of my previous videos, I am not a progressive. I'm a right-leaning libertarian. However, I did have some socialist ideas not so long ago. Of course, until I educated myself, and once again, socialism wasn't the way. But of course, I did used to be a little bit of a leftist. So I kind of understand the goals and ideas of the leftist position, kind of. I don't really think mass immigration is what the leftists should rally behind. Alright, so let's establish things first. One of the primary ideas about leftism would be the prosperity of the collective over the prosperity of the individual. A majority of leftist ideas stem from this core principle, right? The collective over the individual. And fundamentally, immigration is actually a right-wing idea, right? Alright, so example here. John was born with an IQ of 120, above average, but he was born in a third or second world country. With his above average IQ though, he decides to leave this country. When he leaves, he takes with him his intellect, which could have been used to benefit his home country, right? But as a high IQ individual, he sees the warning signs, he knows his country is doomed. He knows if he stays, maybe he could turn it around, but the chances of saving his country are really, really low. So he makes a rational choice and decides to go to another country, a country with higher average salaries and superior standards of living, where he can actually utilize his intellect, right? This is obvious. From the immigrant's perspective, they are actively sacrificing the prosperity of the collective, right, aka the residents of his home country, and actively working for individual prosperity, right? He's leaving the country for better personal wealth, right? This is right-wing. Individual freedoms over collective prosperity. Leftists, if they saw it from purely this perspective, they would view John as being greedy or self-centered, despite him simply making the rational choice. Yet, what I'm not talking about here is individual migration, right? I'm talking about mass migration, right? Individual is right-wing, mass is none of these, right? Mass immigration is what happens when the elite dump their cash into welfare to import more and more immigrants. This is because they need to replace the current workforce due to them not reproducing for Big Daddy government, right? Okay, minor tangent. Instead of taking responsibility, improving the economy to build up wealth, and reducing taxes and bills, and reducing inflation, right? Which would allow parents to actually have the breathing room to afford children, since, of course, the desire to have children is hard-baked into our brains due to evolution, right? It never goes away. You need to import more migrants to patch up the birth rate. Why are you doing that? Take Israel as an example. Although I don't really like them, right? The average person in Israel is wealthy. They're pretty carefree. They can afford to have children. The average Israeli can afford to have children, which is why, out of all the first world countries, right, they have a high birth rate. They have it above 2.1, which is the replacement limit. They have 3 babies per woman, right? 3 of them. That's enough to sustain their population. They don't need to, and that's why they don't have an immigration crisis. It's because they're politicians, right? They're not wasting, they're not being retarded. They're not just importing guys over. They actually have a great personal, everybody in Israel's wealthy. Okay, tangent over. Back to mass immigration. The reason why I believe that the leftists shouldn't really rally behind mass immigration is because I think it contradicts its core principle, prosperity of the collective over the individual. Mass immigration? It doesn't really benefit the masses, right? Clearly, it's certain individuals who import these guys to replace the workforce that benefit from mass immigration, and the guys who come over are willing to do it for real cheap. So not only are you benefiting the elite, but they are also exploiting the immigrants for cheaper labor, which isn't really leftist or socialist in my mind, right? And when you import these low IQ individuals who are just attracted to welfare benefits in your country, right? Not actually coming over to start a business or anything, or do any of the labor to improve their own lives. You essentially have waves of these people coming in, right? Now, of course, I don't think all immigrants are like this. I do know that immigrants do actually generate more revenue for a nation than they take up in welfare. But really, the issue is that it doesn't really benefit the masses, only the elites. If you think like this, the leftists actually support trickle-down economics? Why do I think mass immigration plays into trickle-down economics? Well, trickle-down economics assumes that if you give more money to the rich, magically, all the money just gets trickled down to everybody else. Reagan, happy, right? This is the same type of thinking because you assume mass immigration is beneficial for everyone involved, despite really only benefiting the rich. Likely, the immigrants imported will have a very low chance of success since they were simply only attracted to welfare benefits and better standards of living, right? They'll probably just live homeless in a slum or some shitty government housing. Mass immigration really only benefits one group, rich individuals. This means it doesn't really bide with their already mentioned core principle, which is collective prosperity over individual prosperity, because clearly it's only benefiting individual prosperity over the collective. Now, I am not for mass immigration because, well, I think it violates property rights. And also, I agree with the leftist position that it kind of bears similarities for trickle-down economics, which I don't agree with for other reasons. By all sides, it seems that mass immigration is generally an issue across all sides of the political spectrum, so really, no one should be supporting this. Okay, so now that we've established it's not something that the leftists should really be supporting, what should they support? Now personally, I don't agree with this idea. However, from the leftist perspective, I will bring up to an alternative to what they actually should be supporting. I believe in personal responsibility. However, what the leftists should actually be supporting to be consistent would be building infrastructure and donating money to third and second world countries. They believe in common prosperity, right? What they should support would be a more interventionist position, bringing money over to poorer countries. Leftists really should support going around other countries and building infrastructure for them, kind of like China's Belt and Road Initiative. This is where the Chinese government funds infrastructure programs in other countries. They help them build ports and railways, that type of shit. This is much better in improving collective prosperity, as opposed to importing people from other countries, as you directly help the lesser developed locals in the other country. Which, to be honest, is really one of the few things that is sort of leftist about China. They're pretty right-wing and everything else. I don't agree with this because really, those countries should develop on their own, and Chinese tax money shouldn't really be used on other people who live a continent away, but we can have our disagreements. This is what I think the real leftist position should actually be. Anyways, tell me if you want more of these serious discussions. Now, I know this one wasn't as loud as ranty as the previous ones, but please do ask in the comments. I need engagements to grow my channel. Please share this video to your friends if they are an autistic leftist who wants 3 trillion Indians to hop the border. And if you don't like or subscribe, Narendra Modi will be under your bed tonight. Goodbye!
ਕੁਝ ਚੀਰ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਲੈ ਪੱਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁਖ